I am muted. All right. Well, let me do that again. Good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast. I'm going to jump right into the tip I was giving when I was on mute there. What I want you to do is connect to the people in my network. I often get people who are in my network, maybe you, who says, I'm open to connecting with anybody. Hey, I'd love to do that. And then I have other people saying, I'm open to connecting. But then the two parties don't come together. And I feel like maybe sometimes people just don't know how to connect. And in LinkedIn, if you see somebody, especially in my network, say, I'm open to connecting, reach out and say, hey, I saw Neil's training or post or whatever that you're open to connecting. Love to connect. You want to connect with as many people in the federal market, so in our space as possible, because you never know how they will help. For example, I could never be help to you in any particular way, except you go, hey, could you introduce me to this person? I'm actually doing that with a customer of mine, an old customer of mine, is they've got 10 people they want to get introduced to, and I'm going to make introductions. And the only way I'm actually going to be able to help is because I am first connections to the people they want to connect with. And so I'll say, hey, can you meet Sally? And here you go. Anyways, that's my tip for you for showing up early and on time, is make sure you take that first step. Be proactive in connecting with the people who are in my network who say they're open to connecting, because you'd be amazed how fast your network grows and how you can help people and they can help you, et cetera. All right, let me just make sure everything's good to go. It is. I'm moving on. I love seeing people in the it could have been Manuel, you could have been deaf. Just because you can't hear, just because I'm on mute doesn't mean you're not deaf. Okay, let's get started talking about easy introductions to federal buyers. And the reason I want to do this is because I like to say I can get in any door, right? I'm a GovCon expert, and I often have this debate with other people who are kind of in the same world as me. Just because you're a GovCon expert doesn't mean you know everything. My friend Stephen Koprince, he constantly is putting out information about the FAR changes and about GAO reports on protests or whatever. I'm like, wow, that's like, I can swim in that world, but I can't create that lake. That's his expertise. My area of expertise is on the sales side. And so introductions are why I like doing these kind of meetings, is because some of you struggle with that, but maybe some of the tips I give you will be able to help you move forward. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Really, it is the hardest thing, I think. I've been helping tens of thousands of small businesses since 2018, teaching them, engaging with them, et cetera. And the hardest thing for them is to get in the door, right? The hardest thing, I think, in federal sales is to get that first meeting and then to develop that meeting into a relationship, et cetera. And so if you've been in the federal market for a while, you probably have heard someone say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it doesn't mean you don't need to be an expert. What it means is the fact that you're an expert doesn't matter if nobody knows you. And so somebody needs to know you. So your buyer, your teammates, your friends even. Somebody needs to know you, and then you can begin to move towards success. That is the biggest challenge out there. But when you have a process like I'm going to teach a little bit today, you're going to have success. I always like to remember my last company, the first government contract I got was from some high school buddy of a person in my company. Said, oh, I know somebody's got a government contracting business. I don't know what they do, but they're over there in Maryland. And so they made an introduction. And because the introduction was made, the other person was like, sure, come on over. It was Ted, right? And Ted's like, come on over, let's talk. And so we went over there for 30 minutes. We said, hey, we do SharePoint. This is what we do. We're experts, but we're not in the federal space yet. We'd love to be able to try to team up. And he goes, well, I hear about SharePoint a lot, but that's not what we do. Happy to work with you. Happy to introduce you to our customers. And the rest was kind of history for us. Well, that's an example of those first meetings. You want to have more of those to develop the relationships that are out there. But if you can't get those first meetings, right, or if you can't have really successful first meetings, then you're not going to be able to start and build the relationships that will lead to continuous success for you going forward. By the way, one other thing I want to talk about, just when you understand this, in today's training, I'm talking about how do you get more introductions, how do you get more meetings, et cetera. If you're newer to the game or you've been in the game for a while and you don't have a lot of relationships, then you're going to have a huge amount of work you have to do on having first meetings, a lot of first meetings. But once you establish 10, 15 really strategic relationships, and you can watch 50 other trainings I've done on strategic relationships, but once you have strategic relationships in place, you really don't need to do much. You can cut it by 95% the cold calling type outreach you do, because those relationships will lead to new relationships. You'll meet more people. You'll do more work. You'll meet more people. The reason you have to do this big lift in the beginning is because you don't have as many contracts as you want. You don't have as many relationships as you need. But once you have those in place, you begin to minimize the amount of cold calling you have to do. So today I'm going to share with you tips on how to break into agencies or teaming partners. This is an exciting thing for me. So let's just say relationships rock if you're here for that. By the way, when you do that, it gives me more energy, but also LinkedIn pushes this out and says, hey, Neil's doing training and there's a bunch of people in there and they're all saying relationship rocks. You should go figure out why they're saying that. I'm going to break up today's training about how to get introductions into federal agencies and teaming partners, et cetera, into 3 sections. First is focusing on, or the importance of focus on getting meetings, right? This is key out there. Focus is key to getting those meetings. So I just want you to understand that before I begin to talk about the how do you do this stuff, right? So the second thing I'll focus on, second section, is how to build a target list. And fundamentally, a target list is a bunch of people that you're going to go call. And so how do you do that? If the first section I'm going to do is what, then the second section will be how. I will show you. I'm actually going to see if I can't build a list of 200 names in this training, right? I only got 23 minutes left. And then the third thing I'm going to do is show you a couple of tips on suggested emails to get that first meeting. This is, I've done other trainings where the whole training is about the messaging on the email and phone call outreach. So today it's just kind of sharing you a little bit and a couple of tips. That's what we're going to be rocking and rolling on today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I'm founder of CallPlan AI, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market after I got out of the Army as a small business government contractor. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. And this is what I want for you. You should be able to have repeatable, predictable results as it relates to getting into an agency to try to get to meet people, start and build relationships. If you haven't followed me on LinkedIn, make sure you do that. Subscribe to my newsletter, Government Contracting Success Newsletter. I'd love to have you in there, but more importantly, I only provide content and share content, including things like this training, that are of value for you and your company on how do you have more success in the federal market. I haven't done the training yet, so that upcoming training is more of a placeholder for today, but generally on the weekends is when I plan the next week. So make sure you're following me and you should see the notifications. And thanks for engaging on chat. I appreciate that. It gets the energy rolling. Okay, so let's begin with talking about focus is the key to getting these introductions, right? If you shoot for everything, you're not going to get anything. And that's the general rule. The idea is if you chase 2 rabbits, you're not going to eat today. Chase 1 rabbit, you'll eat today. Or chase 1 carrot and you'll eat today if you're a vegetarian, right? But the idea is you want to pick 1 target. I'm not here today to say you can't go after, let's say, the Army and the Navy. But what I am here to say is if you're going to go after the Army, only go after the Army until you get that stuff going. And then you say, okay, I'm going to go after the Navy. But don't on the same day or in the same activity try to go after both. That's not helpful to you. And in fact, it is unhelpful to you. When you choose 1 target, let's say the Navy, when you choose 1 target and you start going after it, it allows you to do deep research. And what deep research means is you can look inside. Let me use DLA as my favorite example, I think. Sorry, Navy. But I remember when I started working with Gus Phelps, who's in our world. He does the business development accelerator workshops that we had and now he owns. And I support that 100%. Anyways, when he and I started 4 or 5 years ago, I asked him to push into the DLA, to get us into the DLA. And when he started doing that, one of the first things we say is do research, find any strategic documents you can, et cetera. He found this document, I think it was like 175 pages, and it was perfect. We were trying to get into these particular organizations or subordinate commands that did this particular type of work. And in that research, we found this document. Long story short, because we did that deep research, it helped us understand offices at that deep level that you would never see in an org chart. I share org charts all the time, but they really don't go down in any kind of depth. But this document did. It was amazing. But it also talked about a lot of their strategic goals or the mission and of each one of these subordinate offices. And when we took that back and had a first meeting, we were doing that research going in. Not only did we have information that allowed us to talk to this person and say, what we're really trying to do is meet these people over here. Could you help us? And so we did that deep research, which enables us to go further and further into DLA. We did such good research on that the person we were meeting with were like, hey, can you send me that document? I've never seen that. In fact, I just did that with the EPA. I shared an EPA document recently, and somebody from the EPA was like, oh, I hadn't even seen that yet. That's a cool document. Let's go start pursuing it. Well, when you focus on one agency, you can have the time to do deep research to find more people, more offices, more documents that can help you understand it. And this leads right to my most important point about focusing, is that people don't care what you know until they know you care. And when I say they don't care what you know, they don't care what your product is, your solution is, or anything else until they know what you care or know that you care, right? People don't care what you, I don't know why I said people don't care what you buy. We care about what you buy. No, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And see, this is why Fridays are great. I get to enjoy my own little mistakes that are fun. Anyways, but this idea of doing research and finding out about the organization we're going into and then meeting this person, and they can see that from you. They can see that you care. That focus and that research that you're doing shows that you care, and it makes the other person want to open up and talk to you more, which again, ironically, allows you to do more research. Okay, so that's focus. Put focus is king if you get my point there. Let's talk about how to build a target list. And so when you think about a target list in marketing, we might call it a campaign. Hey, we're going after these kind of people. Let's say I'm trying to attract people into Call Plan AI, my new company, right? I might sit there and say, hey, I want to work with 8As. And so I build a list of 8A firms. There's 5,000 of them. Well, if I'm going to go after those 8A firms, that's kind of a campaign. I'm trying to see what kind of results I'll have. With you and with me, when I'm trying to do more focused government, federal buyer type stuff, our campaign numbers are much smaller. And so I say 1 to 200. But the idea is this campaign or target list are the people you're going to reach out to. These are your earliest leads. And then you begin to qualify them. One of the ways you will qualify them is whether they respond to you. That's a pretty simple one. I wanted to share with you and let me bounce around really quick. I want to share with you the bell curve. In case you haven't seen me share this before, turn my face off for 1 second. I call this an adoption bell curve. I borrowed it from the technology adoption bell curve. But anyways, the idea is imagine 100 people or 100% that are out there. Only 2.5% of the people you reach out to, 2.5 people out of 100 are going to instantly go, oh my God, you reached out to me. I want to talk to you. I've been waiting for you, right? And then 13.5% are going to sit there and say, oh, I've been waiting to have this kind of conversation. Let's schedule a meeting in a week or so. So they're a little less urgent, but they're still wanting to talk with you. That means out of 100% or out of 100 people, you're only going to have 16 people who are going to say yes. And then it starts going down from there. The early majority, if you're looking at my screen, the early majority, the other 34% or 34 people out of 100, those people will talk to you when they're getting introductions from the innovators and early adopters. So this is why you want to get into an agency or whether it's with buyers or with industry and have them introduce you to more people, because that allows you to talk to the early majority. The point here is that when you look at the bell curve, 50% of the people are not going to work with you. You have to understand that. They're not going to answer the phone. They're not going to read the email. I mean, they might not even see the email, but if they do, they're just going to reject you. Sometimes we just reject people by like, oh, I'll get back to that. I don't even reject it in any kind of conscious way. And so 50% absolutely or no, and 50% are potential yeses. And of those potential yeses, basically only 16 people. And this is why we build a list of 200 people. You know, you start with a 100, but I like to say 200 people, you should find enough people who will meet with you that enables you to refine how you reach out to them, how you have meetings, so you can improve your success. So if you understand the bell curve, you understand why we need to build a target list of 1 to 200 people. And so for today, I'm going to leave it at 200 people. So how do you do this? I was talking with Annette yesterday, who's a subscriber of Call Plan AI. And every day we have a 3 o'clock office hours so that people can come in and talk about things. And one of the things she was talking about is, well, where do I find people and how do I find them? And so I'm going to show you really quick for as much time as I can But I just wanted to say really quick, one of the first places I can look is FPDS. So if I go into FPDS, and I'll show you all that, but if I go to FPDS, I can find contracting officers, I can find program offices. Sometimes I can find contract offices, and I can find industry winners, the company that won the contract. So I can find those, and imagine how fast I can build a list of 200 people, right? And it doesn't mean I'm building a list of 200 perfect people. I'm building a list of 200 potential people, and by reaching out to them, I'll begin to find the gems that are in that group. Second place is DSBS, which is renamed now, but dsbs.sba.gov. When I go there, I can find all the small businesses that are succeeding. And so I can go in there and I'll show you how I reach out to them. And then the last one is LinkedIn. So I'm going to try to show you all three of those incredibly fast. So, and I just watch my time. I got 13 minutes left. First thing is in FPDS, and let me just get over to my screen. Come on, government, open up. We want to sell stuff. Okay, so if I go to FPDS, you can do a lot of advanced searches in here. I'm going to move really fast. This is not FPDS training so much as, come on, hello. This is live. I need you to work for me. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to do a new search ad here. And let's say the first thing I want to do is description of the requirement. And I'm just going to take an easy one and say staffing because I know there's a ton. And so I'm going to add one more field and say I'm looking for anybody basically engaged in any way of staffing. Let's just say in the last year. And so if I do date signed, I'm going to pick 10/21. So here I'm going to change this to 9/30/2025. And what do I want this to be? This is 24, I think, right? So this is the last fiscal year. That's all I care about. And I'll miss some stuff, and that's fine because it's really about showing you how do you go into FPDS. So I said, I asked FPDS to show me any contract activity in here that relates to staffing and the date signed. So the first thing you can see is I got 2,400 in here. If I come back right here, it says action obligation. Just for the fun of it, I'm going to add one more field. And action obligation, I'm just going to say, we'll see what it's like. 1, 2, 3. I think this is good enough. See if that works. Come on, FPDS, you need to move fast. I'm on a timeline here. I'm just waiting for it to load. Okay, so this is perfect. I said, show me anything that's staffing where the action obligation, the amount of money that's out there is $1 million or more. And this is perfect. So I'm trying to build a list of 200 people. Here I'm able to start. And I'm just going to show you one example inside the card. Okay, I want to zoom this a little bit for you. So when I come into FPDS, you saw what I did there with this, the description of the work is staffing, the last fiscal year, and the amount is $1 million or more. And so in here, I automatically am finding 2 people, right? Sometimes you have to clean these things up, but I don't know who they are. But generally, the approved by person is the contracting officer. I think last year or something, FPDS changed and said it has to be the contracting officer. I'm not positive that's always the case right now, but either way, these are the contract personnel in the top right. So on this form, I just got 2 people. If I come down a little bit, I'm able to look in here and see funding offices, National Forests in South Carolina. So if I wanted to do work with them, I could go deeper into that. And then I can see the contracting office. And this is the cool thing. I don't know anything about the Forest Department's contracting organization, et cetera. But I'm able to look in here and determine, like somehow they probably have some sort of contract, something for the East, the West Coast, the Central. But I could grab that, dump it into Google and learn more about it. But the point is I'm learning about the offices of who's buying staffing services. And then if I come right here, I can see this company and Terrace Trust or something. I don't mean to brutalize the name, but there I can find them. And here's their UEI. And if I wanted to, I could come over and find their phone number and email of the owner of the company. So here you've got that. That's a generic phone number. But if you go into DSBS, well, actually, let me make sure it's a small business. Oh, that's funny. They might have graduated out of small business. And so you might have to go to the website or something. But so now I got the winner, right? And so in here, I got potentially at least 3 different individuals. Let me close this. Now imagine what I just did, right? I went in there and found a ton. You could tighten this up to an agency, say, hey, I'm looking for the VA. And if you look over here, you can see the VA's got like 78 folks in there. I could expand this out to 2 years. Not just that, this is just the first stab at it. So let me show you the second thing I said, which was DSBS. So if I go to DSBS, right now it redirects back to what's now called the Small Business Search Tool from the SBA. And if I come in here, I just clicked ahead to the filtered search. But if I come in here and do something of the same kind, let me just start with staffing, right? I haven't done this one before on DSBS, but what it's doing is looking for small businesses that say they do staffing. And so I'm able to come in here and see that there's 3,900 that are in there. I actually have a tool where we added it where you could say, show me if they've got experience. And I don't think the SBA does this still. You would have thought they would have just took it from me kind of thing. So you can see all sorts of stuff in here, but you can't see if these people have experience. You can go to GovCon in a box. I sold the company, but the tool's still there where you can find people and you can say, show me staffing and show me that they have experience in there. And then you can choose all these filters. If you're not familiar with DSBS, go in here and explore. But you could say, let me find companies that are near me, right? I might sit there and say, find companies. Well, I guess this is Florida. So, but if I said, there we go, Florida, I do like how it loads. But there's 349 companies who are in Florida who say they do staffing, right? And I might be able to work out and start talking to them. You can figure this kind of activity out. But if you come in here, you see right here, it says contact person. All of these contact people, and I don't know if you can see this rows. Well, that didn't help, did it? But right there, contact person. All of these contact people, about 80% of them are the business owner, because when we start a company, we're the ones who usually registering. So we register with our own name and our own phone number and our own email, and you're able to reach out to some of these people and start talking to them. If I just took a stab, let me take a stab at this one company. This might not work because it depends on whether people fill out. See, I was trying to show you right here whether this company filled out everything, but they don't. And so many of us are invisible. Anyways, all right, so the first way is FPDS in here. The second way was in DSBS, or what they call the Small Business Search Tool. And the third way is LinkedIn. So let me go into LinkedIn, which kind of is always fun since it's my profile. Hopefully things aren't popping up too much. But anyways, if you come in to look at things, let me just close these. What I do is I click here and I just hit enter. And in here, let's say I'm trying to find people. And in this case, I'm looking for a larger business. So let's say I'm going to look at GDIT, I guess. This is perfect. Right there, GDIT. Hopefully you can still see this stuff. So I'm in GDIT and it is showing me, I'm going to scroll to the bottom. It is showing me, I don't know, 10,000 people. And so now I'm looking for people at GDIT, but what I really want to do is find some business developers or capture managers or proposal managers that I might be able to introduce myself and start talking to them about what I do. So going back to maybe the Navy, let's start with the Navy and see if I get, see if I get lucky here. So, shouldn't have got, I messed up my search a little bit. Hold on. So I got to bring back GDIT. Okay. So now I'm searching Navy in their job title, basically, or the description, but I can start coming down. But look here, Senior Director for Growth, Navy and Marine Corps, right? If you're brand new, don't reach out to Tim. He doesn't want to talk to you. But if you're doing $1 million plus or something, then maybe Tim will talk to you if you've got Navy experience or if you've got a really good specialty. If you're less so, that's totally fine. Just start with small businesses. But look at this as I come through, right? You can start going through. Here's Senior Director, Navy and Marine Corps. I start building my list of people. Some of these people are working in the Navy, and that's fine. Let me change the word from Navy to just, let's just try capture really quick. So if I go to capture, I start looking at Director of Business Capture, Vice President Strategic Capture, right? Director of Capture. And if you don't know this, capture is sales. So inside of the federal market, when we do sales, we have business development, capture, and proposal writing, basically. And so capture is part of sales. And so all of these people are worth me following to check out what they're doing. Here's a capture manager who led some cloud stuff. So she might be responsible for IT related stuff, but I can see she's a capture manager currently at General Dynamics. So let me scroll down really quick. So there's 10 people per page. What do I got? 40, is that 400 or 40,000? I think it's 400, right? So there's at least 400 people. I told you we're building a list. Let me come back to my screen. Okay, we're building 200 people on our target list. Well, I just showed you 400 at GDIT. Imagine if I start shaping that with some from the agency, like contract officers or program office people, small business specialists, and then some from small businesses and some from large businesses. You can build a list really fast to start having conversations and move in. One quick tip about building a list: make sure you're playing at your level. Just because you're at a beginning level and you're making $0 so far or 500,000, it doesn't make you better or worse than a $1 billion firm. It just makes you earlier in the process. And so when you're earlier in the process, start with companies that are closer to where you are. Like, let's say $5 million company, but don't go to a $5 billion company. All right, so I'm running out of time, but I want to give you this last slide really quick. Oh, just very quick thank you to Voltron for sponsoring our LinkedIn Lives. Go out on YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. They're enabling me to bring this training to you day after day. So check them out. They do AI proposal writing, and I simplify that. But basically what they're doing is help you go from finding the solicitations that look like a winner to having a ready draft that's compliant and compelling within a matter of minutes instead of weeks. And this is an exciting part as we move forward as government contractors trying to win. We need that edge that will allow us to respond to more. And Voltron helps you do that. So check them out. And do me a favor, throw thanks Voltron in the chat if you appreciate them helping me bring this to you. Okay, really quick suggested messaging. And you can go watch other training I have. I have whole trainings, like, I don't know, 30 or 40 trainings just on how to write emails and get first meetings. But the most important thing to remember about when you're reaching out to somebody is far less words than you think about. If you look at the message I have at the bottom, it's 1-2 sentences, maybe if I broke it up, but it is a very minimal amount. If you're familiar with Twitter, think about those 240 characters from the old days, or 140 characters, whatever it is. Less is better. Second thing is only one ask. Don't ask them to have a meeting in something else. They'll always take the thing you don't want as much and ignore the thing you really want. You just want a meeting, so just ask for a meeting. It's better to get rejected than to get confused. And the last tip I have for you is don't automate this outreach. If you're going to build 200 people, do not automate. If you're a company that's just selling products and you don't care about building relationships, then sure, go ahead and automate, because people will know that. But if you're trying to build a long-term relationship in the Navy to grow, invest the energy now to write one email at a time. I literally, CallPlan AI is a product and I sell it. I don't automate. If I'm reaching out to somebody, I write one email at a time. I can write far less emails, but I'm making it very clear that I care enough to write the emails. And I want you to do that same thing so that people don't see you as coming across a little too salesy. All right, here's what I want you to remember from today's training. First off, focus leads to success. So pick one agency and do that at a time. You do another agency another month. Second thing is build that target list to 200 people before you do anything else. It should take you one day. If you're brand new to this game, it'll take you 1 week. But take the week to build the list and then start making the calls and email outreach next week. And the last thing is, when you reach out, definitely reach out to those 200 people, but be persistent. Follow up at least 10 times, right? Unless they tell you, no, I don't want to talk to you, then they just missed your email. They missed your voicemail. All right, I'm out of time. So just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is having a great weekend. I hope you do. I will see you on Monday.